Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. Scotland's pretendy health minister, Neil Gray, health minister in name only, but he's still got his name on the door, and that is making him, it's put him in a very difficult position, shall we say. Even though the sort of de facto health minister is the first minister, because John Swinney's effectively doing the job, because Neil Gray is the, the one whose name is still there, he's the one that's now going to be dragged into a meeting with the Equality and Human Rights Commission. For you see, as Health Minister, he should, following the High Court decision, have issued guidance to each and every one of Scotland's health boards, letting them know what they have to do over gender and sex in terms of toilets or in terms of changing rooms, in terms of single-sex wards and so forth. He has not done any of this. This is because he is not really up to the job. He sits in his office, locks the door, stims all day like that, not taking phone calls, because the job's too much for him. He's got mental health problems. I don't mean that in a bad way. He's genuinely out of his depths and he's feeling it. Well, he's now got this difficult meeting with the Equality and Human Rights Commission, and he's got to explain to them why he hasn't issued those new guidelines, despite the court case. And indeed, despite the fact that Sandy Peggy's lawyers have already been in touch with him and asked him to do this, because they want him to intervene and get the NHS Fife to stop the case. Only for their own benefit. They're going to lose it now. They cannot win. Now, basically, like the rest of them in the SNP, he is sitting there rather stunned and po-faced, can't believe that the SNP's policies of, a man can pretend to be a woman and therefore we've all got to play the game and pretend he's a woman, has been rejected by the courts that say, no, it's all biological sex. It doesn't matter what you pretend to be. And they don't know what to do about it. And it was a 5-0 defeat as well. It was all 5 judges of the Supreme Court came out on the side of For Women Scotland, of course, and said this. So there's no ambiguity at all in the decision. Now, in the wake of this victory, which is a victory for women and girls, it's also a victory, of course, for common sense and for basic understanding of biology, etc. NHS Fife is now coming under increasing pressure to simply drop the case, but they haven't yet, which is very, very weird. They've got to concede because they can't win. Even if they win the tribunal, which would be perverse, the moment that happens, the tribunal itself would be in contempt of court because of the High Court ruling or the Supreme Court ruling. It's very weird. But basically, Sandy Peggy, is a quick reset there, is saying that she doesn't want a man in the female changing rooms. And she's quite right. Anyway, Baroness Faulkner, has said that the judgment means that trans women cannot use any female-only facilities, like, for example, female-only wards, change rooms, etc., as we mentioned. And she also has asked Neil Gray to clarify this, and still nothing. It's been 4 days now. Why is Neil Gray sitting there humming and hawing and not writing the letters, not amending the guidance that his government are obliged to put out? Well, they've arranged for the meeting to be next week. Neil Gray has to turn up. This is not an offer of a little meeting with a cup of coffee and some biscuits. This is formal. He must do it. If he doesn't, it's contempt. So what's he going to do? What's he going to say? What is he going to do in advance? Is he going to, put the guidance out in advance so that when he goes to the meeting, said, it came very quickly. We didn't have time to get the guidance out, but it's out now. And that'll be an end to it. Or is he going to try and blast through and say, no, we're right, despite what the Supreme Court says? It's very difficult for them because they've spent so long with a completely opposite view and threatening people and getting people fired. And, now it's all come back to bite them. And there's a lot of people now lining up to take them to court over it. They don't know how to deal with it. It's pretty big. But they're going to be highlighting all the sort of things that's going on. and he's got to have answers. The only other option is he resigns. But he probably hasn't got the sense to do that. We are talking about Neil Gray after all. So what's the answer? Neil Gray must go. One way or another. He goes to the meeting or he quits as minister. Let me know what you think. Thanks a lot. Bye.